Welcome to the second Warp World Tech Talk, where we're going to tell you all about MultiQueue and how Warp World came to be with its first ever product.
Hey, welcome everybody to the second official Warp World Tech Talk. I'm Jacku, along with Ross Jabrasi, also known as Chud Breeder, and Mickey Ledvich X-Water.
That was closer than last time. Nice job.
I'm getting better.
Yeah.
It's
a
mouthful. Eventually, I'm going to be able to figure it out.
You're going to have it down pat for sure.
I mean, is it better if it's just still garbage though? Like, it would be like
even when I say it, it kind of sounds like that though.
That's how you introduce yourself.
Yeah,
I know teachers hated my last name, but like at least with mine, like you can kind of figure it out.
Yeah, I can work my way through it. As soon as I hit the next J over the J, it's over. I'm just like, nope. All right, we're just gonna go Mickey out. That's the end of that.
It's impressive.
Yeah, it's really a jarring group of J's to start it off.
It really is. How you guys doing this afternoon?
Good.
Can't complain. Yeah, having a good one. Excited to talk about MultiQueue.
The roots, man.
Yeah.
Bringing it back to the home.
This is how we all kind of really met too. So it's the history of us all.
Walk down memory lane for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, for the audience and everyone, we should go over what the Tech Talks are. So this is our second one now. We've got a nice little slide that kind of shows the things that we're going through. Introductions. We'll get to those in a second. What the Tech Talk is, what is Warp World /MultiQueue, the challenges we came that we had to see and overcome with the software, what future features we have. We'll do a quick demo, and as always, there will be question time. So you can actually use we're actually using MultiQueue for this. !ask will allow you to ask your question. So it's just !ask and then whatever question right after will go into the queue for us to review and answer at the end. And so without further ado, we'll go right over to introductions. Similar slide as last time, but slightly different. I'm Jacku, 15 years of experience in information security space. Eventually, I'm going to be able to say 10 plus years in the Twitch streaming space, and the information security will be more of a footnote. I'm responsible for a lot of the software at Warp World, MultiQueue, OneUpCoin, Crowd Control, Turnip Exchange, and more. I've recently been playing GTA roleplay on NoPixel, and we just unfortunately finished Raft this last Wednesday, myself and X-Water. And the fun fact this week for me is that I actually ran for mayor of Chicago like sometime in 2015, 2013, somewhere. It was probably 2010 actually. Holy crap. That was so long ago. I won a contest and I had a campaign team, and they weren't great, so I didn't win. It was not my fault.
It wasn't. Of course not.
It's not my fault. Yeah. And Ross, let's go over to Ross.
I mean, I didn't run for mayor, so how come I always have to go after that? I joined Warp World really early, 2016, and met Jacku through Twitch, through Makers back in the day. That's where we started. I am a web developer for a long time. I architect EXTJS, and I've worked on the Ionic framework. We've won a bunch of Emmys here. We recently won for Project Adventure, which a bunch of people at Warp World, Jacku, Saturn, Moni, also are Emmy Award winners for. I helped develop Turnip Exchange, Crowd Control, all sorts of other secret stuff that we can't talk about. My fun fact is in middle school, I won the gold medal for jump rope. I out-roped. That's what we call it when you're a winner, when you're when you're on the end of the jump rope. I out-roped everybody. So I roped them all.
Nice.
Yeah, it was good.
Nice.
All right, on to X-Water.
And that's me. I'm X-Water. I am a full-time partner Twitch streamer with a big focus on challenge content, entertaining positivity, all that good stuff. Joined Warp World back in 2016. Along the way with Maker, right around the time, when we were doing all this cool stuff with it. Warp World was the name of the queue system at that time. But my fun fact is that I have beaten Mario Odyssey faster than any other human being has beaten Mario Odyssey while also in a hot tub. So multi-skilled man, what can I say?
Very impressive.
Yeah.
So so that now that you know what we are, why don't we talk about what this is? And what this is that this is the Warp World Tech Talk. We take this time to go over, it's a semi deep dive into some of our services, some of the people behind the scenes. We're talking about a service, we're talking about our goals and philosophies, some of the problems that we may have solved with our things, the challenges we faced as programmers, as streamers, as just viewers on Twitch, how we feel that we were able to accomplish these goals, is there things left undone? Any features or ideas that we wish we could get into or add? Potentially go into technical deep dive on some of them, and then general Q&A. Standard format for a talk like this. The last one we did for OneUpCoin, our cryptocurrency donation platform, allows viewers and streamers for viewers / donators to send cryptocurrency to streamers while keeping alerts up, and that was received really well. We had a few questions come up afterwards on our YouTube and emails. So you can always email us techtalk@warp.world as well if you have questions afterwards. And also techtalk.warp.world will give you a direct link to the YouTubes and that playlist. So without even more further ado, what is MultiQueue? For those that are wondering, it's an interesting name, MultiQueue. We don't always. The names of our products sometimes just come out of nowhere in a way, and I feel like MultiQueue just kind of was the code name or just the name that we came up with while working on this version of the Q software, and it kind of stuck. But what it really is it's a queuing platform that allows the streamer to focus on gameplay and not the management of a queue. They don't have to worry about viewers coming and going and removing them themselves, the entries they're putting in to be fake or anything. It's simple, it's customizable, it's versatile. It can be used by just about anything and anyone and for anything. We kept it really simple this time around. Like Xwater was saying, originally it was just for Super Mario Maker 1. It's how we got our start. And we were, a big focus on that. It allowed a lot of customization in that game. But at some point, we had a meeting. Xwater and Ross, we can both talk about this, or all three of us can talk about this. We had like a weekend where like 8 of us were at the studio. And we went over ideas and features.
That was like the beginning of the beginning for like a ton of stuff.
Yeah, that's when we were like, we had that whiteboard that we wrote the database structure on. We were trying to plan everything.
I'm in the room. I'm in the famous room right now. I am there.
You're in the room where it happened.
I'm where it happened right now. Yeah, it was. There's a whole thing. We had a lot of McDonald's was consumed in that weekend. I remember the Canada boys were fascinated with the McDonald's.
2 for $5 Big Macs was a deal I've never witnessed before.
Don't forget we skamazed the McDonald's too.
Skamazed.
I know.
Am I the only one that remembers?
Yeah, I guess so.
I need a refresher.
They had done a wrong order. And they had given me my food once, and then they gave me another bag of my same food. And he's like, "Wait, didn't I already give you my food?" I'm like, "Yeah, but I already grabbed it, so you can't. What are you gonna do? Throw it away?"
Yeah, at this point, you have to throw it away or let me keep it. Yeah,
like it was like double the food. Why not? But
I'll definitely say in that meeting, we definitely went in a way different direction than where MultiQueue ended up. I think we did a lot of talking, not as much making as I think we wished we did.
Yeah.
But I think we set up a lot of expectations for what it could be moving forward, and how it turned out.
Yeah. Maybe during that weekend we over-architected some things, but like I think really having that mindset and having those ideas in mind for what MultiQueue did ultimately become, it left it opened enough to allow us to move into that direction easily. And so, again, like I mentioned before, we supported just Mario Maker 1, but now we have Mario Maker 1, 2, Geometry Dash, Levelhead, Mega Man Maker. Those are 5 custom supported games that, actually do validation of codes and data in various ways. Generic support for 1 million games. I looked it up. There's over 1 million video games out there. I don't know if you need, to queue for over 1 million games, but the way it works is generic enough to just work with those games. There's a list that auto-populates as you start typing the name, and over 1 million games are in that list. So technically it works. But yeah, the big focus too was, we customizability. As streamers, we know that you want to have something that sticks to your theme, to your style, and the warp bar really allows that to be, a thing. It's not going to be a generic yellow bar that no one can change the color on. You can adapt it to be the colors you want. You can make it transparent and keep the text a different font. There's a lot of options there. It even supports custom CSS, but we don't see many users capturing that because they want those easy to use tools. But this is kind of what MultiQueue is now. And what's mentioned too is it's called MultiQueue for a number of reasons. I guess one, it's because you can have support for multiple games. It's no longer just Mario Maker Q. 2, it supports Twitch and Discord, and we had Mixer support at the time. We had DLive support at one point. Currently, what's that new open source one? Gleamish?
Something like Gleamish.
Something like that. Yeah, we have support for that right now. YouTube support we've tried to get. We have right now a way for users to log into their YouTube with it, and that's kind of helped us gauge the usability. And we just haven't got the numbers that make it worthwhile. Unfortunately, YouTube APIs are very, I wouldn't say restrictive, but they are not very useful for small developers, and they have a whole process that can take months and months to get through, unfortunately. And so if the demand's not there for viewers or streamers on YouTube to use, then it's harder for us to really want to build out that platform. That said, we do want to ultimately support it, but it's just, if users don't want it, we're not going to exactly waste our time on it. That said, though, that kind of falls into our goals and philosophies around services, and we always have this for all of our slides and or all of our services. It's something that we really like to think about when building something. Simple and versatile. It needs to be simple. If it's not simple, people aren't going to use it. We know streamers will definitely hear about something while they're live, and if it takes them 10 minutes to do something while they're trying to entertain people, that's too long. It needs to be quick. So if you follow the directions correctly, you can do it. Generic enough to work with just about any game? Absolutely. At this point, I said 1 million plus games. It's not wrong. Last time I ran the numbers, we had about 300 and something games that users have used the Q for. And that is a lot more than I would have been expected. We got League of Legends. We've got other MOBA type games. We got Counter-Strike. We got first person shooters. We got Fortnites, we got Marios, we got everything. It's really kind of fun. Again, I mentioned this earlier, keeping the focus on streaming, not managing. We make it easy for the streamer to be able to, choose who's next, and not have to worry about removing people, ensuring that they've typed in the right stuff. Because nothing's worse than going through, trying to play somebody's level or something, and finding out that they have the wrong code. It's not something you want to do. That takes away from the entertainment side of things. It brings downtime to your stream. It's no fun for anyone. Keeping it simple again, we do what we call the poo test. If poo can do it, then we think anybody can do it. And that's a self-coined term by him. So there's no, we're not putting him down or anything. That's
we're not being mean. We're not being mean. He says this. He says this.
It needs to be our usability slogan. If poo can do it, you can do it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That's definitely a poo saying. We absolutely are not throwing him under the bus here.
Yeah. He agreed on our last Tech Talk as well. It's all definitely in good spirit. But yeah. being an easy to use setup, like you were talking about, is very important. Easy to use setup, easy to use the software itself. And I've used it. It's easy to use. It works well, you know?
Yeah, I'd
Yeah.
imagine,
I mean,
the focus needs to be like before your stream, you're like putting all these things together, like you're getting ready to entertain these people and do your stuff. Like the last thing you want to think about is like, I got to do like 12 things to make sure I can have friends play a game with me or something. Like that's the last thing you want to deal with. Like this should just
Yeah.
be, it, it shouldn't even be something you have to think about, ideally. That would be
Yeah.
the goal.
yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
it's nice because, like you were saying, Jakku, like the name MultiQueue is so multifaceted because it's got not only multiple support for multiple games, multiple platforms, but also you can actually have multiple separate like queues in your multi-queue. So you have like
Right.
your Mario Maker queue, you have your Animal Crossing queue, you've got all these different things, and each of them can have their own set of rules, variants. The customizability is awesome. Where like I found when I use multi-queue, it's usually for the purpose of either playing through specific content in a game. So Mario Maker levels is a great example for that. Or going through a specific list of opponents in a game. So Smash Bros, I want to play against my viewers. And then I put them in the queue and I just go, all right, let's play, nice and easy. I switch it over where like maybe when I'm playing Smash Bros, I change the command name to !battle or something like that. But switching between those two modes is as simple for me as clicking a little box and then just switch it, like picking the other queue. So it makes it that much easier while you're streaming. You know, it's less than 10 seconds for me to go from Animal Crossing mode to Mario Maker mode to Smash Bros mode. It's great.
Yeah, and I forgot that part about the whole multi-queue. Like it's awesome because you can store multiple queues. So yeah, it is really like a multifaceted name in that regard. So we got to talk about the challenges before we can really talk about everything else, though. We got to talk about the problems before we talk about the challenges we come up with. So again, Warp World started in 2015 with just Mario Maker 1. That was the name of the company. That was the name of the software before the company, really. And so MultiQueue is the new name of the software because having your software be the same name as the company, confusing. But it was a hassle. I was watching streams in 2015 when I started watching Mario Maker people, and I saw what was going on. People were going into their notepad, copying codes from the chat, pasting it in, and then when they'd go to type in the code, you'd have invalid codes. They'd be completely fake codes. They'd be deleted levels, or they'd be impossible levels. And there was no way for the streamer to know unless they somehow could remember that 16-digit code. So only a few people like Pangea Panga with that perfect memory could store a database of codes in their head. And so like at the end of the day, I'm like, there's got to be a better way. And that's how I got started in this. But the other issues, like, if you had 30 users come in and spam your chat with codes, those users themselves wouldn't know what place they were in. You wouldn't know if they were like, depending on the order the streamer copied it or whatever, they could have left for 20 minutes and they don't know how many levels the streamer beat. So they had no idea what their position was. And then even more is users didn't know what level you were playing very often. And so they'd ask the same questions, what's this level's name? What's the code for it? Who cleared it first? How many times has somebody died on this level? It was like the streamer was repeatedly asked the same questions. And why that's good for engagement, the streamer could be in the middle of the sentence or talking about something. And then like every other minute, they have to be like, this is level code, or this is, Pitapanga, P-break, they would have to explain each time. And so like, I'm like, there's got to be a better way to do this. And unfortunately, fortunately, there wasn't. And luckily for me, at the time, I felt like I was up to the challenge. That sounded intentional, actually. That was a good segue.
Was
I gotta
smooth.
say.
Yeah, you're good at it. You're good at segueing.
Yeah.
Almost like you knew what the next slide was. It's like you knew it.
No, I knew what the next slide was, but whatever. So again, there was no acceptable solutions, similar to our 1UP coin when we looked into it. And at this point, my knowledge of Twitch was very minimum. I had a Twitch account for the last few years, 9 years or so prior to that. And so like, I knew that there was a little bit of stuff to do. I had dabbled in Twitch bots a little bit with like the Twitch Plays stuff. I was very interested when Twitch Plays Pokemon popped up, but it was very limited. getting users as a nobody on Twitch was very difficult. You know, I was lucky enough to have some sort of presence because I had beaten P-Break, and so there were some people that knew me at that point. But at the same time, like I could go into somebody's channel, and it still happens too, but I could go into somebody's channel and be like, hey, you should use this. They're like, I don't know who you are. Get out of here. You know, so that was a problem. Getting streamers to change the routine, I think that's the biggest thing. I remember fighting users to change OBS Classic to OBS Studio and then be like, well, it works for me and I don't want to change my routine. And I'm like, you don't understand. Like, you're going to have to make this switch eventually. And the more you add into Classic, the harder it's going to get, just all of this stuff. So like, it's just like, I know it's hard to change your routine. If someone's telling you like, hey, this is going to make your life easier, but you're stuck in a certain way, you're going to just be like, yeah, whatever, I don't care. This works for me. So it was hard to get people to change their ways. And again, you know, this was the early days of Twitch, really. It was all chat based. There was no extensions on Twitch. There was very little. Like at that point, it was like donation alerts was like the big thing still. So there was
like
some,
bits and
chatbot
gifts
games
weren't a thing yet.
Yeah, none of that. And like the fact that no extensions exist, like that's like deeper than just that comment. Like streamers and viewers didn't have a great concept of like that interactive change except for chat. Like that's all we had. So
yeah,
inventing a UI, making it like work, making the chat commands easy enough where people can do this across games. There's a lot of just like logistical problems to solve that no one's really even tried to think about yet because, you know, we just have basic chatbots. No one's really building, sidecar websites and then overlays to connect to them. Like Xbar said, it's really like subs, donation alerts, like alert system, which is pretty much just Twitch info, coming up on the screen.
Yeah, it was really simple back then. And even another challenge too, on top of all that, is like feedback to the user when they are like submitting into the queue, because back at that point, delay on Twitch was way bigger. Like you were getting, your chat was basically hearing your reply to their chatter anywhere between like 15 to 30 seconds after they write it. Like we've gotten to a point on Twitch where you can write in the chat and the streamer will see it in like 3 seconds tops. But back then it's like
sometimes
if the level code is submitted
before you type it.
yeah. When I'm streaming, I can almost like have that forethought where I know someone's about to ask if it's damageless or not.
And this is kind of on the previous slide, but the typos were a big deal back then because it was a big 30 seconds. If you had to ask the viewer like, oh, was this a 1 or an L? Like one, it was easier for you to just try yourself. But, at the end of the day, you had to wait 30 seconds to find out it was wrong for the viewer to even know they had to reply. They type it, then it'd be a minute to 2 minutes on average of just like this downtime in between typos, which is a long time on Twitch, especially if it's happening every like 20 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, imagine trying to have a Zoom conversation with someone with that kind of delays. Like, wait, did I get it right? It's like that weird newscaster thing where like the nnewscaster's like sitting there for like a minute, like waiting for all the words to come into their headset. Like that's you trying to get the right level code for your level. And it was a mess.
Yeah. And again, you also had hope that they were still in chat. You didn't know. There was no way to know at that time when you were copying codes in your notepad. But yeah, so those were the initial challenges. And then in early testing, we're going to show it off in a second, some of this real peak web design. But we had a very simple initial setup. And, I did not come from a web designer background. I was more thinking about the functionality of the tool at the time. And then, streamers were very skeptical at the claims of what it could do. I would, talk to some streamers here and there and be like, hey, check this out. This is the thing I built. It takes codes. It lets you do this. It automatically adds it to your Wii U. So it just streamlines everything. Like there's no way it can do that. That's not possible. And it's like, okay, that's fine, man. It is, but I get it. So yeah, it was very hard to get people to kind of understand the power of it, especially in the early days of Twitch, because nothing like it existed. this was the first time anything like this really was built. So, here we go with the initial website. On the left is the very first design.
Gorgeous.
I know not many users have seen this, and I meant to pull the database of like when users signed up and kind of figure out the dates, but this was, the left side was the site from like October to about, I want to say, February. So about 5 months. So 2015 October to February 2016 was the left side. And then, I jazzed it up a little bit with some colors and some JavaScript and some Bootstrap on the right. And like, some of the remnants of that design are still in the site today. The piranha plant. I really like this feature, and a lot of people don't know this. But if that piranha plant is there, like, it means something, right? So right now, if he's on there, it means it's open, and if he's not there, it means it's closed. So he's eating the levels or the entries if he's up, which is really fun, and it's just like a small little thing that you don't really notice.
Yeah, that's cute.
Didn't know that.
That.
Didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
Now I got that.
Yes.
I was actually I thought you were gonna say like when his mouth was open, it was open, and then you had another picture of him closed.
The closed mouth. That's what I was thinking. You were gonna get
I
to
thought
too.
you were
That would have
going.
been good too.
But that would have required a lot more work. just making the image disappear is pretty easy.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. But for the next version, we can have him come out of the pipe and animate it, and then have him go back down, like when an entry comes in. Like,
we have people.
I feel like that's a great feature that no one asked
top
for.
Of our priority list.
We're at that level, or that needs to be number one on the list. Make sure.
Yeah, we have the power to do that now. All right. So this was obviously again my first foray into the designing of this stuff, and like it was very much just like, let's keep it simple. Here's the commands. Here's how you do things, and here's your entries. Nothing more than that. But it worked. It was enough at the time to get people interested. If I had to wait 6 months for me to get better at web design before I started building, we wouldn't be where we are today, I think. And so how do we overcome these challenges? So I mentioned not having a lot of experience with the APIs, but luckily Twitch had lots of documentation. There was lots of examples on GitHub and on other websites out there. There was one big issue we had though. We were using it was Kraken to Helix. So like Kraken was the original API that was part of Twitch, and so like a lot of Warp World was built on Kraken, and then we had to switch to Helix, and we still have to switch to 5.0 or whatever it is now. I don't even know, man. Like they got so many APIs, it's ridiculous.
It's true.
But I think two of the biggest things that really helped, and like being a streamer and networking with streamers was really kind of the same thing to me. By being a streamer, that helped me network with viewers. Those viewers then went out to their other streamers to kind of show off the software and tell them about it. But being a streamer really helped me get like feedback and first hand knowledge of like what's working, what's not working for this queue system. It's one of those things where like you can build something because you think it would work, but if you're not using it every day or every so often, you're going to be missing things that you didn't think about because you didn't use it in a real world example. And by being so like open about this, I think that was how I got involved with Ross and Xwater a bit more, is because like they were also using it, but also like I was watching streamers, and this was the biggest thing. And this is something I really like doing. This is where the Jackroo lurk comes from. All of our software, OneUpCoin, MultiQueue, Crowd Control, I will go and check out streamers that are live while they're using services like this, and I will listen to what's going on in their stream. I remember way back when with Warp World, when it was just the queue, like going into streamers and them complaining about features like, hey, this doesn't work, but I never got any emails. No one ever tweeted at me. No one ever came to my channel to tell me bad things. They never even came to tell me good things either, but they never did that extra step after their stream to be like, hey, this didn't work how I expected. So by watching them on stream and seeing them have these struggles or complain about these features, it allowed me to go in and fix those things while they're streaming. And so like streamers would be like, oh, I wish I could do this to to the queue, and I wish I could remember an example, like a perfect example, but I definitely added features live to the site as streamers were complaining about them or being like, this doesn't work, and then just be like, try now, and they'd be like, oh, it works now, that's interesting. Still them not picking up on the fact that I was the creator, even though at the time it had my name at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah, there's
It
a
was
lot
very
of
much
reading to
like,
get down to
just-
the bottom. I don't know if it's like
Yeah, there was a lot of
way
reading.
down there. You should put that at the very top. Jakku's MultiQueue. People will know.
Get a picture of me and be
The
like, it's like a
Jakku
captcha.
MultiQueue.
Yeah, and like you being in streams is like I don't even know how to describe it. It's like to an extent that is slightly concerning for your health and like me as a friend worrying. Like there are times where like somehow you seem to be able to communicate with everybody doing something. Like someone will just bring it up and then you just like pop up in the corner like, yo, I'm here. Let me fix that right now. And it goes and gets done. It's like you're everywhere that your stuff is in some very strange way.
I remember.
I wish. Yeah.
I remember back. I forget exactly what the functionality was here, Jakku. I'm sure you can give it to me, but there was one point where you created some sort of bot or app that was essentially anytime any stream mentioned your name, you got a Discord message or a text or an email or something like that. So you knew when you were being brought up, and you would pop into these streams and be like, oh yeah, what's going on? What's going on? I remember I had my chat at one point tested. I'm like, watch, someone just say his name. He's gonna pop in, and you did.
I did have that. So yeah, full disclosure, I did have a bot like that at one point. I haven't had that bot for like 4 years at this point, I want to say. It wouldn't be hard to run again, but it's just overwhelming. I got a lot of false positives too, but like I have tremendous luck when it comes to this sort of thing. And to this day, I will pop into a stream just as somebody's having an issue with crowd control, and me being able to explain what issue they're having, and then be like, "Wow, how do you know so much about this?" I'm like, I don't know, I helped create it or something. And like, oh, okay, that's cool. And it's just like it happens. And I'm sure for every one that I do find, I probably miss 10. So like, it's not like I'm always there, but my timing can be very good sometimes, and my reputation, I get a reputation for it. But yeah, it's really fun. But I really like that because streamers feel confident in their own stream to talk about things. But they, like, I asked some people afterwards. I would ask people like, hey, so like, is there any reason you didn't reach out to us about this issue? You said you've been dealing with it for like 3-4 days, and they're like, I didn't feel like I was that it was that much of a problem for me to reach out. And it's like, I get that. Like, some people are like, it's not that big of a deal, I can work around it. But like, for somebody that really likes, fixing things and building software, like any critique I want, like I want to get the feedback. I want to get the positive feedback. I want to get the negative feedback, because I want to do more. That's what we do at Warp World. We want to build awesome things.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I mean, you have a little point here, obviously, becoming a streamer helped, and, but that's only so much. There's only so much you do in your stream that you can compare to everyone else's community and how they're going to use these tools, especially a tool like MultiQueue, which is like so open-ended. Like, people can really put whatever the heck they want in there. So, popping into people's streams and seeing how they're trying to use the product, that's really the only way. And, I mean, we're not really much of one to like shame people for coming and bringing us issues or something. If you got a problem, bring it in, and we will, we'll do it. Obviously, there's a bunch of stuff in Discord to leave us that, and you can run through all people's suggestions. But yeah, we're there definitely to get feedback.
Yeah, it's really good getting people's feedback directly from the streams too, though, because like, that's when people are, I feel like, about any product or something, if they're assuming that they're not being watched, like if you're in lurk mode, Jakku, or any Warp World staff or somewhere in there watching through lurk mode, then those people are going to be honest, and they're going to give an actual like pure critique or explanation as to what's going on, because every streamer doesn't want dead air. So they're just going to keep talking and talking and talking, and eventually that thought's going to come out, and they're going to say, "Oh man, it'd be cool if this queue system had X feature or Y feature. It'd be cool if it, didn't do this or that, right? So there's all of that to consider when it comes to like the feedback from the streamers. But what I was wondering as well, Jaku, is like when you started streaming, how often did you have those like scenarios where as you're, playing, you're like, oh man, I'm coding that in. I'm ending the stream and putting that in there right now, dude.
Yeah, no, that was a lot of my streaming was live fixing and feature adding as it came up. And like this is still true to this day. If there's an issue with one of our services and I'm streaming, like I want to be interrupted. Streaming is my hobby. It's not my job anymore. Well, it was never my job anymore. Warp World is my job. And it's a job I enjoy that I don't need to like, I like time away from it is nice. But if there's a big issue or something's on fire and something's not working and I'm the only one to fix it, I'm the only one to fix it. Like I need to be alerted immediately, sort of thing. So like that's still true to this day, in that regard. But yeah, I love that sort of stuff. And like a lot of people don't know this, but like, we have forum support, we have Discord support, we have email support. Like there's a 95% chance that I'm going to be replying to your email if you have a question about one of our services and you email the correct address. I don't like getting DMs randomly. That's like my pet peeve is like, don't DM me because like there's other avenues to go through. But the email is like, it's a reply all sort of situation. So if I reply, the other people that are in emails get to see it. The Discords is reply all sort of thing. Like the only reason I don't like DMs is because I want that information to be available to anyone that's out there so that they can solve the problem themselves in the future if they search. So
yeah, I've also felt that
really,
DMs get lost. Like my personal ones just get lost in time. Like there's messages coming in and I just lost your message. Like it's just gone. It just doesn't work. Doesn't work the same way.
Yeah.
Another point on like
absolutely
having like these streamers like run stuff and popping into the stream. It's like the perfect user testing for us. Like we provide them with no other setup. Like if we couldn't do anything better. Like if we tried to invite people in and run them through our stuff, we've already given them more information than we're supposed to. Whereas like if you pop into people's streams, they had only the docs that we put out there, only the information's out there. It's like the perfect user testing to see exactly where we've faltered.
Yeah, it really is the perfect user test. Absolutely.
Yeah. His ideal.
Yeah, so I mean that's what MultiQueue was. Everybody always likes to hear about what new things are coming out. So updates and innovations in this space. There's always room for improvements, but so we're in a big rewrite of our websites and stuff right now. We mentioned that briefly last Tech Talk. You're going to be seeing an update for crowd control. That's going to be using kind of this new system. But some of the things that we're looking to add support for is group queue support, meaning you could have two or more viewers in one entry, so to speak. So like, if I was playing like League of Legends and I wanted to bring in Ross and Xwater here to be, to play with me on my team, I could select both of them from the queue. And now they're combined into one entry, and everyone knows that those two are the two that are up right now. So that's one idea that we have. Shared queues. This has been heavily requested, and there's workarounds that users do right now, but we want to do 2 streamers, 1 queue, right? Or 2 or more streamers. Meaning, maybe Xwater and Cliffy are doing a race and they want to race Mario Maker levels from their viewers. Viewers will be able to submit levels from both streams and they both go into a single queue. And then they can control it that way. And that will be really fun. Tournament style / queue bracket system, that's been something. We actually had something like that for Makers of Mario. We might as well bring it to the queue system. You can have a bracket sort of system. So all of your entries are combined. I know, Xwater, I think this might be something exciting for you to do with your Smash Brothers stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. These are all like really, really exciting things. I feel like a lot of these ideas just make me think of that whiteboard too, when we were first redesigning it and everything and seeing all those ideas. Cause that's what we wanted, right? We wanted the grouping, we wanted the sharing queues and all that.
Yeah, tournament style sent us down like a whole day, if I remember.
Oh, man,
like there was a whole thing about tournaments and brackets. It might have even turned into like a whole nother project that we had talked about at one point. If I recall, there was like maybe a whole nother thing we were going to do just around tournaments and bracketing. But if we can get, once we get that into MultiQueue, that's going to be awesome. It opens up just a ton of different kinds of gameplay for people.
Yeah. I think so. We talked a little about the challenges, and just to another big one that I feel like we have, and a hard challenge, is that MultiQueue can do so much, slight humble brag, so much that it's a little daunting sometimes for people to figure out how to do what they need. Like, you ever feel like where the options are so full that it can be hard to kind of figure out which tool in particular you're looking for, how to get it done?
Yeah, no, I agree with that for sure. And I think we see that on Twitch in general, like specifically with extensions and interactivity. You see a lot of like very pointed things, like this extension for this game, right? Like this is the this game extension. Like, MultiQueue really isn't like that on purpose to try to, allow streamers to create their communities however they want, to use this however they want. We didn't want it to just be like, pair up in Fortnite. I'm sure that would have been, super popular if we tack the name on it and put it in the store, but that's not what we want to do. Our goal isn't just to make something that is popular. Our goal is to try to give tools to streamers that make it easier for them to invent fun things to engage with their communities. And it is super daunting, but Jakku, I'm curious with that, like, what were your thoughts around that as you were building it? How can this be so abstract for everybody, but not overwhelming where people are just like, oh gosh, this just does too much and I don't even know what buttons to press now?
Yeah, I mean, that's always a struggle. But at the end of the day, with the experience that we had gotten from the original Warp World queue for just Mario Maker 1, it made it really easy to kind of figure out, all right, this works for Mario Maker. And so I was able to take what was kind of like what was working great for that and move it into the multi-queue system. And I abstracted it from one single queue system to having this whole customization on per queue. And again, like I said, we could have tacked on anything like, hey, this is, Fortnite, or this is X game here. But the whole idea of this one queue system to focus on all those games, I think, is the bigger picture. We always look at that sort of thing as well as like, all right, I mean, maybe we didn't start out like that with Mario Maker because that was our first product. It was very much Mario Maker focused, but moving forward, everything we do is like, how do we make sure that this isn't just going to put us in a corner for a single game, on these products, unless it's a really, really good idea, like something like Turnip Exchange. So like, it was really like, how would I use this for most games, and how can I make sure that this works for most of these games without having to code in a lot of special support? And so
I think if there's a value add for a specific game like Turnip Exchange, that makes a ton of sense. But we do have a lot of conversations about like, can this be expanded? Can this be expanded?
Yep.
But I don't think the multi-queue would have happened without original Warp World. It just never, without that, it was, you can't, I can't imagine trying to start with an abstract multi-queue system when you have like no grounding in how this is used or like anything. Yeah. And actually, wait a minute, that's kind of like what happened in this room when we started the conversation. I mean, there were you had some grounding, Jakku, but there were a bunch of people here that didn't have the experience you did. And I think that's probably one of the reasons we were like turning gears so much. It's just such a open potential. And I think at the end of the day, the grounding it in like, this is what worked. Let's just keep doing that and add little bits to it to try to make it work for everybody.
Right.
That was valuable.
Yeah. We're using our knowledge. I mean, that's why we have a lot of our team members be streamers. Without that initial information of the streaming space and knowing what streamers go through, we can't expect them to build tools that fit those needs of those users. But yeah, so that's what we got. Again, don't forget to check our Patreon. So it's useful. Patreon.warp.world. But let's go over to demo time.
I'm gonna throw something at you here, Jakku. Before you get too crazy, I'm curious because this is a tech talk.
Yes.
This is a tech talk. Can you throw out some little bits on the technology and how that evolved? Just like I'm gonna put you on the spot here because I'm sure
Yeah.
it started much differently than where it ended.
Well,
I'm gonna
yeah. So
guess.
it's
Even if we go back to like
the tech-
original Warp World, even if we go
Yeah,
back to like where the
very
tech was
original.
on that.
Yeah. So it's not all different, but it originally started with PHP and MySQL. Like that was my developing experience for websites. I did not have much experience with JavaScript other than reading it and reverse engineering things here and there. I never really built many JavaScript applications, and so PHP was what I focused on. That was how everything kind of communicated originally. Still, MultiQueue's backend is still PHP. It is something that I do hope to move over to Node.js in this new rewrite. But at the moment, it is still PHP and MySQL. But we do have a Node.js warp bar. So, the warp bar didn't always exist as how it does now. The original warp bar, before it even got the term warp bar, was another web page that would it would essentially poll. It was a polling service that would poll the information to see if it needed to update the level code and information there. And I didn't like that solution, but it was the easiest thing for me to get done in that time. And so I looked into other technologies, and I came up with WebSockets and Node.js. And so the Warp Bar today it's on its third version, and it's actually using React. The first one was all just pure JavaScript and HTML, and it was really great because it was my first Node application. I made a WebSocket server that it connected to using the streamer's secret key that's available on the website, and it just played everything through there. It allowed for a lot of fun stuff. Having a warp bar gave me power, I would say, on streams that no one man should yield.
A many video and sound effects.
Yeah, I tried not to abuse it, but some of my friends know what I'm talking about. Cliffy in particularly, it made some of the best moments I've seen on his stream, to be honest.
Wow.
With the
Wow.
Hawks.
Sorry, Cliffy. Sorry, Cliffy.
Sorry, Cliffy.
Compliments to his content, yeah.
Yeah, no, his content is great, but there are like him falling out of his chair because of a honk is just you gotta
Gold.
love the falls out of chairs.
Yeah. You
So,
can't script that kind of content.
No, you really can't. And like he always removes the warp bar just in case. But
Nice.
that was the early days. That was the early days of Warp World, and like mainly a one-man show at that point. There are more rules and things in place for others for that to happen nowadays. But yeah, the technology is and fairly similar, other than the addition of the Node.js WebSocket stuff. And so like I do want to take it more to Node, but we had to do a transition at one point, obviously from Warp World to MultiQueue. And so there was a lot of old commands and stuff that were still being active, and I had to do migrations and keep the old site and services running, because streamers, again, we talked about it earlier, their routines and stuff, they don't want to change those routines. And so like even if I put up a thing on their OBS like, hey, please go log in here and change this URL, most of them would just be like, nah, I just stopped using this. And like I didn't want that, so I made sure that like the old stuff continued to work for a while. And we're having a migration period for the new stuff, just like that one. But at the end of the day, like we're do our best to keep backwards compatibility to the old stuff for people that want to stick on it for a little bit.
Cool.
Yeah.
So we're talking PHP,
All right.
JavaScript, MySQL. That's what powers it all. That's it.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's really simple. I guess talking about more about it too is the warp bar holds what we call the warp bot, and this is the most confusing thing to users, I feel like. And just to explain it, because I explain it on the site, it's mentioned in FAQs, but in order for a bot to be on your channel, something needs to run that bot, either a server or your computer in some capacity. There's programs you can download for chat bots that are executables on your setup, or you could use a bot like Stream Elements, where it's all cloud-based. You just say, hey, connect to my channel, and now they run that bot. We do it a little bit differently because we are a much smaller company, because we don't have the big resources of a large company, and because this is completely free service that unless you're a Warp World Pro user on, we don't make any money from. our bot will actually run in your warp bar on your computer. So if you don't have the warp bar active, it can be like off of your canvas of OBS, off to the side. It can be 1 pixel by 1 pixel, but that bar runs the bot. And so that bot then connects to your channel to figure out what to send to the server. And that way we can have our resources usage lower than typical. And that way our bot's not sitting in your channel when you're not using our service, and that it's not taking up, it's not confusing you for your viewer count or anything like that. I think that's a really fun approach and a good way to do it, because like it uses very little resources on your end. But if we had the thousands of users that we have all using it on our server, that would require a lot more resources on us. It would require us to be constantly checking if these channels are live or even just watching them in general. So I think it's a good approach that more companies should actually look into. And like I could see like OBS having like a bot feature built into OBS that when your OBS is open, that there's your bot stuff. It just seems like a missed opportunity.
Yeah, I could totally see that as well. I always thought that was a really clever implementation, because it keeps it on exactly when you need it and only when you need it. And it's like it's just so calm and easy. You never need to think about turn the bot on, make it join the channel, make it leave the channel. It's just if your warp bar is in your OBS and you set the settings. Like, well, for me, what I do is I just set my warp bar to that URL where OBS has like those options where when it's visible or non-visible, should you deactivate the page, essentially disconnect from that web page, right? And I just set it, tell it like, nope, always stay connected, even if it's not visible. So bam, anytime my OBS is open, the bot connects, and it's perfect.
Yeah, even from a security standpoint, it's a very interesting perspective, right? Because you're not trusting someone else to be one of your users, right? It's
right.
That's just an interesting play on it too, is, with Stream Elements, they're great, but still you're giving them the keys to something to be that person. And if you run it yourself, that's not the case.
That's true.
But I know we've talked about the pros and cons of this. I know we may go both ways on this in the future, providing a little bit for both people depending on which way they want to go. But yeah, I think still actually one of like the key pieces of Warp World is, and Jakku, I think you stress this all the time, is like making sure that the data and the control stays on the streamer, right? Like everything stays within their ecosystem, their control, and not giving up more than they have to get, help in whatever they're trying to do. Yeah. And by letting them just run the bot, again, that's just like one more thing. It's just like, here, it's yours. We're not doing it. We're not screwing with your accounts. We're not doing anything. You do it. And all we're going to do is look for some messages to help. That's it. Yeah.
It's
a really good approach.
The permissions with OAuth are definitely something that we stress at Warp World. A lot of other services, they have these high requirements to log into their services. They ask for all the permissions they can think of and the kitchen sink. And so like at the end of the day, like they have your stream key, they have, your sub list, and you're like, well, do they really need that? And like, unless we absolutely need it, we're not going to ask for it. Because like none of our stuff requires your stream key. We're not going to stream as you at any point. Some of those services do require it. There are needs for that. That's why those scopes exist. But so many of them just decide, let's just blanket ask for everything, because that way, if we think of a cool idea down the line, we can implement it without having to re-auth these users and check their permissions each time. And yeah, it's a little bit of extra work on our end to check that we have the right permissions and things, but it's worth it at the end of the day. Especially
I want to say they're lazy. I want to say they're lazy, but it kind of is on some level. As a programmer, I'm thinking about it. I'm sitting there like, all right, well, I'm going to ask for the couple things I need now, but if I just ask for everything, I don't have to worry about this later. I can just deal with it. And then I don't have to worry about, oh man, I forgot a scope or like something. It puts a little more work on you ahead of time to make sure you're asking for the things you need to do what you need to do, but nothing more. And again, it's tough to say it's lazy, probably less lazy and more like we just want to be able to make whatever we want in the future, regardless of what the idea is. I'm sure that's what it is. But as a programmer, I personally know that there are definitely times I've thought about taking the lazy road. So I wouldn't put it past somebody. Wouldn't put it past
Absolutely.
somebody.
And then the big benefit is security. Like at the end of the day, if one of these services gets breached that has all of your scopes permissions, that means every single streamer could potentially have their stream key leaked. And that's a huge deal. Imagine if large streamers all of a sudden all of their streams just went and started streaming like some sort of crazy message, or even worse, some just some crazy
Inappropriate
propaganda
thing
or racist
something.
messages or
Yeah.
all sorts of stuff. And it's like, and if that comes back to one of those companies that everyone uses, like they're done for. Like there's really no recovering from that. Like 1,000+ streams all compromised. I'm not even gonna name a single company because like at the end of the day, I don't want to even consider it. But like if one of these large companies that has all these scopes and has all these stream keys gets compromised, that's going to be a huge like hit to their image. And so like at the end of the day, that's something that we don't want to have to deal with ever. All right.
Yeah.
Demo time.
All right. Back to MultiQueue. We're gonna see it. We're gonna see it now. Here's what it looks like.
So I'm just gonna. This is the website. It's it's actually that's the wrong page.
This is his first time using it. So hold on, everybody.
So there we go. So this should be the main page. I think something got changed, but it goes over the page a little bit and tells you a little bit about it. And gives you some stats about how many people are using it and things like that. Oh, who's this? Warp World. Yeah. So, but Xwater made this great video for us that kind of tells you all about how to use it and set up for games. But it's as simple as logging in and going through your scopes. I already have a queue set up, but it's literally your first time on the site. This message will pop up immediately, and so I can type new queue. I can start typing a name, like I can type Mario, and we got Mario Kart 8, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. So we could do a Mario Kart Double Dash. Description lets you put in a room ID or something like you can put in a room ID if you need it, or like some other information. Anything that requires a password you don't want to put in here, but this is like DD, right? Submit. The queue's automatically created. It takes you to this page that lets you kind of set the rules. This is a whisper message, so if they require some sort of special code, this will only be available to the users that are currently active in the queue, so that nobody else can get the code. You can require a note, which just means like when you join, they require an additional command afterwards. So like maybe you want to know what character they're playing as in Mario Kart, so they could do ! Join space Luigi, and now they want to play as Luigi. Max entries, max queue size. We got some Twitch setting and filters, so you can do sub only. We can filter it by badges. You can make it so it's bits only. We got Discord settings, so you can. I don't have my Discord hooked up right here, but you could add a Discord queue so that any channel on your Discord would be listed here, and you'd be able to be like, "This is my Mario Kart queue." You customize the queues settings. It does look intimidating with how many options there are, but at the end of the day, if you're like not an English speaker, you're able to go through and customize all of these commands. I remember the very first Warp World software. None of this was customizable. It was all very just generic, and a few streamers reached out to me for the commands, and I had to hard code it. But now it's all like here for you to edit yourselves, the commands and the responses. Again, select queue lets you choose what queue. You can see I have a lot. Create queue, bots and more. This is how you can get some information about the bots, the Discord bot, the YouTube bot. This will explain things. Mixer and DLive. I thought I removed those. My bad. But yeah, all the bots are here. Here's where you can get into the queue settings, and again, all these are like all for themselves. So you can like this would be just for Mario Kart Double Dash, and then this gets even crazier. There's that little warning. So if you want to go through and change the contents in the bar and how they're configured and how they're moved. So if you want that to show up first and not that, you can move them around and hide all that information. So it's all there. You got references. You don't have to get into this if you don't want to. That's the nice thing. The defaults are pretty good. But then you just go to your queue, and this is where you can kind of see all the entries. Oh, I see what happened. All right, that's an easy fix.
He's gonna go fix it right now. Don't let him do it. Stay on the demo.
Yeah, I'm not gonna fix it.
Get in there.
But yeah, you can see that it's already fixed, like Discord, Glemish, all that stuff's gone. But essentially, and then here you go. You can go all entries, Twitch sub entries, Discord entries, Glamish entries, and banned users. And then you can see your records if you have any. So, I should have some entries in here at some point. Now, I beat my queues, so I don't have any entries. But that's it. Now there is one extra step. We did skip that. This warp bar is the bot. Remember, so you do need to copy that into OBS or something somewhere, and store that somewhere. I'm not going to copy it in fear of my key getting leaked, but
Smart.
I'm fine with you seeing the first few digits here. But yeah, this is kind of it. You just copy that URL into a OBS browser source, and you're good to go. So that's MultiQueue. That's the demo of setting it up. But really, that's not just the only demo, because it is question time. And
this is the best demo we can have in action.
Yeah, exactly. That's the best thing about it is question time is the demo. So let's go on to the first question, which is from John. What language do you program in? Whatever the one is that's right for the job at this point. But I've done PHP, I've done JavaScript, I've done C, I've done C#, Python. I've been all over, but I really enjoy JavaScript and Node. It's what I know the most at this point, and PHP's not PHP's got its place, and I'm pretty good at PHP, but I try not to do PHP anymore.
It's got its place.
I love the smile. I love the smile on your face as soon as he says it.
PHP. Yeah, I mean, I started with ASP, PHP, that all that stuff. But yeah, ASP. It's been mainly JavaScript. Now, since we can do it on the front end and the back end, that's really been our standardization. There's really not much we can't do, though. I think we have been looking into Go a bit because it's really fast. We've seen it get used a lot, so there's a lot of potential there. Yeah, but I would say we've solved most of our problems with JavaScript.
Yeah.
I would do.
Yeah, and I remember what. ASP
Would you consider SQL a programming language? I guess it is. We use a lot of databases, but yeah. And usually we abstract the databases with JavaScript libraries of some kind. So
you guys do. I go old school, but yeah.
Right in there with those queries. Just type them out
they're all injectable. They're all injectable. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, what's funny, Ross, is you mentioned ASP. Way back when in the early 2000s, I dabbled in ASP because I looked at PHP first. I'm like, oh, that's complicated looking. I remember thinking document.write made so much more sense than Echo.
Oh boy.
And still to this day, it kind of does.
Echo?
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I guess it kind of does.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. But oh man, I had Microsoft Access. It's where I started with databases. And what was your first programming language? What was the first thing where you typed code into the computer and it did something?
Basically, had something weird in high school. I don't even remember what it was called.
Oh,
yeah, I did some Basic, and I did some C, and I did some Visual Basic, which was, I still this was a fun memory. I remember Visual Basic 6 had just come out recently-ish, and I bought one of those Visual Basic 6 beginner books, and it came with the trial version or whatever, where you'd have one program window in VB6. And I installed it on my old 386 Windows 95. It had a 500 something megabyte hard drive. I didn't have enough disk space. The installer ended up crashing because it ran out of disk space. And I'm like, I'll just try to run it anyways. It ran perfectly fine.
Oh, really?
But
for how long?
It ran perfectly fine as Enterprise Edition. So it was no longer the trial edition. So something at the end of the install routine, changes from Enterprise to the starter edition. And because I ran out of disk space, it just worked. I'm like, well,
something screwed up. That's
don't
crazy.
update this ever.
Happy little accident right there.
Yeah. So something broke into upgrading your software is what you're telling me.
Yep.
Pretty much.
And that's when he knew
that's-
he was a hacker for life.
Yeah, right.
That's the moment.
Yeah, I'm with Kat. I see him
Oh.
in chat here. I started with QBasic. That was like
Yeah.
the first. I definitely remember dissecting Nibbles, the
Yep.
snake game, and the gorilla game where you would throw bananas at each other, which was like
Yep.
a Scorched
Yeah.
Earth-esque game. I don't know if you guys ever played Scorched Earth, where you were like two tanks
I
and you
played
used to shoot
Gorillas.
each other. Yeah,
Oh,
Gorillas
yeah.
was
The gorillas and
fantastic.
worms.
I kept thinking
Yeah.
I kept thinking like, man, I'd love to bring Gorillas to Twitch. I want to do like a giant Gorillas battle where everyone's throwing bananas at each other. Anyway, someday.
Oh man, that'd be
But
good.
yeah, started in QBasic, man. Mickey, I know
This
you
question's a
program. Where
bit
did you
long.
start? Where did you start?
Oh yeah. X-Water.
Oh, sorry. I thought you said Jakku. I looked it up. I found the name. It was called Turing. It was a language called Turing that I used in high school. But then
Did they make it up?
going into no, I remember very little about it, but it was very like easy to grasp. But then yeah, I went into university. I learned C was the first one we learned there, and that I thought that was a pretty decent starting point for then. But then yeah, as I started doing stuff on the web, I dabbled a good amount with PHP. I gotta admit, I was also a pretty big fan of PHP for a while, and then pretty much everything I've done on Twitch for Twitch, with Twitch bots and stuff like that, has been Node. Node has just been so nice to work with. It's easy to work with, and there's like anything you want to do, it's like you're gonna find probably a library out there that's gonna make your job 16 times easier. And
It's got a huge
Yeah.
ecosystem, that's for sure.
I've got the
library is
team
a
at Warp
two-edged
World that are
sword.
experts I can ask if I ever need it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Did
library
guys-
is forced a two-edged sword because
That's
Like,
true.
the
Then you don't know what's
simplest
going
function.
on in there.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, but there's like
It's
the
true.
simplest function. You're like, oh, there's a library for that, and you use it, and it's
Right.
like it has like 30 dependencies for no
Right.
reason.
Yeah, your
And
node
then you're like,
modules
well,
just
whatever,
becomes a pit.
It reversed my text for me. That's all I needed it to do. And you're
Right.
like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I added space to the end of my string. That's worth
Yeah.
that's worth a meg. It's worth a meg. Yeah. Did you guys ever do turtles? Did you guys ever do turtles as like a
Oh.
programming starter?
I
Move
know,
to rotate 45.
Familiar with it. Yeah.
It was a program that I had in
in
middle school. You had a turtle in the middle of the screen, and you could issue it commands like move X, Y,
Yeah.
and it would like move forward 10. And you could tell whether or not the turtle had a pen being held down or not. So if you wanted to draw a square, you'd be like, drop the pen, move forward, turn 90 degrees, move forward, turn 90 degrees. And it would draw these squares, and you could like draw this stuff. Yeah, it was turtles. That was like one of the first things where I was like, someone was actively teaching me how to use a computer with like commands I would type into it.
Mhm.
You guys
Getting
probably
your brain
played
in the right space.
Yeah. You guys probably played like text adventures, right? That's pretty close.
Yeah.
Did you ever play text adventures?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Anyway.
familiar with Turtle.
Turtle. Anyway.
Right.
Next question.
Cool. Right. Tezu.
Oof,
I don't
this
know.
one's too long for my poor
Tezios.
screen.
The Super Mario Maker 2 queue created this culture of people coming in, spamming code commands, then leaving. Is there any shared back-end data of some kind to deal with people abusing it like that in the same vein as Kryptonite Bot? Thinking about the same idea of not wanting to manage the queue and removing levels of people you know aren't there. I mean, we show the status of if viewers are online or offline when it comes to the queue. So you're like, with MultiQueue, you know if the viewer's in chat, but I think what you're looking for is like, is there like, there's random trolls that just go and add a bunch of levels and then disappear in general. And so like if 30 streamers have banned them, then could people add that to their list? There's nothing like that yet, but a community banned list is something that many people have asked for on like Twitch itself. And so I could definitely see this being a feature that we could look into doing and giving people the ability to opt in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's not far off. We've had discussions about things like this. Like what do we call it? Like it was like something per streamer that let us know if they were a good or a bad person, right? There was like we had a whole
Warp
conversation.
report.
Something
The Warp
like that.
report is what we were going to
Yeah.
call it.
Was
It's
it?
for like call-in shows.
with
Yeah,
something
yeah,
along
that's
those
right.
lines.
Yeah, kind of like a layer of safety for streamers on the call-in show idea. Yeah, yeah, that was a
Yep.
good one.
Yeah. This next one comes from Tom Nook. This is more of a one-up question, which is why I assume he put it in a bracket. With the addition of one-up coin, you are in short allowing streamers to invest, i.e. accept donations of crypto. Do you see this expanding the realm of higher risk crypto or other digital mediums like NFTs? I think what Warp World is and what one-up coin is, it's an on-ramp for streamers to get into this space and then for them to take the next steps. We are not a crypto company. NFTs are hot right now. They've been around for a number of years at this point. There's obviously lots of discussions going on around NFTs and things like that. But I don't know if that's our focus at all, because if we were to do that, we'd have to put a lot of focus on that because that is high risk, like you said. And I don't think it's something that we want to necessarily expand and spend all of our time on. Our expertise is more on the streaming side, not the NFT side. So good question, but I think feel free for you guys to chime in too. But I think we treat one-up coin as like an on-ramp just for streamers to kind of dip their toes into the space, and if they're interested, they can do their own research and stuff to go further.
Yeah, in my head, I feel like one-up coin is a cryptocurrency service, but it's a streamer service first, right? Like its design isn't necessarily like focused on like its necessity came out of being a tool for streamers, and that's what Warp World is. We make things for streamers, and that happens to be around cryptocurrency, but it's not our focus. Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with all that stuff. If there is a problem we can solve that will make life easier for streamers that happens to overlap with this stuff, then we'll look into that. But I don't think we would do something that's more crypto and less streamer. Like that just doesn't, it's not interesting to us.
Oh, all right. Next question comes from Destiny.
Gosh, they're all long.
97.
They're all long.
Yeah.
We gotta strike
you can scroll though, right?
I can. I gotta click on it and grab the scroll bar like a chump.
You ever think about
some kind of Neanderthal?
You ever think about having some developer APIs to your products to maybe hook to events and maybe do some cool things? I think the custom firmware scene could do some awesome things with those. I know you said earlier you can't run some of this on a Wii. Maybe we can. Poo woo, poo love. I mean, Warp World has an API, api.warp.world. The entire website uses those APIs. So if you just intercept the requests, you can see how they're done, how queues are joined, how they're pulled. I don't know. This sounds more like a crowd control question with things running on a Wii. And so, maybe that was, early because the crowd control talk is going to be, I think, the next talk that we do, the tech talk. But we have SDKs for crowd control as well. People have gotten that stuff working on systems outside of us. So we do have APIs and things available. Just searching on our forums and whatnot, you're able to find it. At the end of the day, we do have something in the works that we can kind of talk about now called the Warp Pipe, which is like a pub sub system that we have plans for people to be able to subscribe to for these events that you're talking about. At the end of the day, that's slightly different, and that's kind of along the lines of where we want to get to. But other than the SDKs and APIs we have offered now, that's the extent of it.
Yeah. We've definitely talked about this. I think even today we talked again about the idea of likely bringing some JavaScript libraries to NPM and to GitHub from Warp World. To be honest, we haven't had time to maintain an open source community to put our code out there and make things accessible. And now that Warp World is evolving, that's definitely something Jakku and I have talked quite a bit about, is the idea of providing tools for other developers so that they can help streamers in other ways.
Yep. Yeah. All right. This next one comes from Guilty Camel. Thoughts about turning MultiQueue and other products into cross-platform apps using Electron or similar? MultiQueue is already a cross-platform because it's all website-based. There's no nothing to download. Crowd control is Electron-based as well. I think the bigger move is moving everything just to browser-based. There's even some work being done with that with crowd control in general, so you don't need to download an app at all. I foresee a much better experience where everything's just on the websites and being able to access systems with the various APIs through Chrome. is the better route there, because at the end of the day, if we have Electron apps, then users have to make sure that they're updated. But if it's all on a website, it's literally just refreshing. You got the latest update. And again, yeah, I don't need people downloading something for MultiQueue. There was another Mario Maker tool back in the day for Mario Maker 1 that did level codes, and it required an exe. And if you think it was hard to get users to go to a website, like, think about how much harder it would be for people to trust people into downloading the exe. We try to, with crowd control, because we have to have an exe downloaded, we have a code signing cert. We go through that entire process because we don't want the users to be feeling like something wrong could be happening. So I don't think Electron's exactly the best route for that. Obviously, it all depends though, because at the time, crowd control made sense to have an Electron app or some sort of executable. So at the end of the day, if something does make sense to have a download program, sure. But I think web-based technologies in browsers a lot better.
I don't think you can get much more cross-platform than the web. I mean,
right,
pretty great. Plus, with the browsers like evolving at the pace they are, we can now talk to USB devices and Bluetooth devices and all sorts of stuff from the browser.
Mm-hmm.
Our need to have native apps is slipping away.
Yeah.
We don't need it.
All right. Final question is from Bodega Kitty. What security exploits are possible in Twitch tools, APIs like MultiQueue, and how have you addressed those?
What? Okay, that's better at the end. I was just asking for some exploits.
We actually put a variable, it's a const actually, at the top of all of our code that says hackable equals false.
That's my favorite. That's my favorite piece.
Yeah, Jaku requires it. Doesn't let us leave it out.
Yeah, it's actually, you know what? Can we make an npm module called unhackable, and that's all it does?
Awesome. Export const hack equals false.
Galaxy brain right there, guys. But no, coming from a security background, I try to look at the code as much as I can. For that sort of stuff, there's always going to be something you got to be worried about. At the end of the day, there's always new attacks and new things. But cross-site scripting is obviously something that could be big, especially with like this question stuff, where you're able to you could try to do a script tag. It won't work, but you could try, right? So at the end of the day, you could try to do some sort of cross-site scripting, some sort of injection in the warp bar itself so that it pops up a message or it loads JavaScript from another site, and potentially gives you access to that user's warp key for their warp bar, which then could get you access to, maybe their OAuth key for their bots or something like that. So at the end of the day, yeah, there's always going to be something to be worried about. I don't have any examples of like what things we've seen. We've had some reports, very minor reports, of people just like doing their due diligence on things and be like, oh, you should do this with your targets or with your pages when you're doing a post. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's not a bad idea. Like the risk is low, and all it would do is like break the site for the user at the time. But at the end of the day, yeah, it's interesting. It's hard to say though, because if I knew more examples and stuff, then like yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say.
You'd probably be trying to fix them or tell people.
Yeah. But yeah, at the end of the day, we our servers are 2-factor. We have IP blocks on the authentication side for like SSH and all that stuff, for the direct access when we need it. So like getting access to the servers is rare. Our firewalls only allow standard HTTPS traffic.
Well, another thing, as you mentioned earlier, we don't have that much information about people. Like we don't deal with a lot of your private information. It would have to be, I guess, Twitch that had a security exploit. We don't deal too much with it. And I don't know, Jack, you would speak better about this, but I assume that a lot more hacks probably happen by manual intervention than this. Like someone just asks someone for something and is able to get information
Like social engineering.
Right. Like they're able to get a password from someone, or somehow they convince you to give up your stream key in some ridiculous way.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing would definitely be, something like a link in chat. That's probably the biggest vulnerability for any of these services, not just us, but like any streaming software, is some sort of cross-site scripting or something where like once the user clicks a link, it's able to try to access these other services and exploit something on them to grab some sort of information. And so like it requires user intervention. It requires you as a streamer or a viewer to click on this and to also have been logged into the site that the attacker is trying to go after at that moment. And it'd be limited to your account unless like potentially, they targeted an admin of one of those sites and they knew about their admin endpoints and dashboards and stuff, which is unlikely, but it's possible. You never know these days. Attackers are very determined in some cases to figure this stuff out, and it's hard to really account for everything. But just having best practices in place with two-factor firewalls and restrictions, access control, basically, we help mitigate any sort of potential disasters there. Yeah, that's going to be it. That's the last question.
All right. Tech has been talked. We've done it.
We
did talk about the tech.
Yeah. So Jaku, do you got plans for the next one already? You got anything you want to tease?
So I think we're debating whether or not to do Turnip Exchange or Crowd Control next. I think it depends on a few things. We have a really cool idea for Crowd Control, but I think it's something that we want to get a little bit more extra polish on. And, it makes sense, I think, for it to be Turnip Exchange next, because that basically gives it on our 1-year anniversary of Turnip Exchange. So I think I just decided Turnip Exchange.
Is that true?
And a year, Ross.
It's been a year?
Wow.
What a ride.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure
crazy.
Ross will be joining me for that one, because he did a lot of the front end. He did all the front end actually on that one.
True.
And I did the back end. And that project was both of us over a weekend, basically just going at it.
I know you're going to give out the time to everybody, but yeah, that's about what happened.
Yeah, well, got to tease it a little bit. They can hear the story, and they don't know how much time over the weekend we spent. But yeah, it was an adventure. It was quite the experience. And to think that was just a year ago is crazy to me.
Well,
but
where did the year? The whole year disappeared. I don't even know where the year went.
It disappeared.
It's been a weird year. Man.
Yep. But this has been another Warp World Tech Talk. This was about MultiQueue. As always, you will be able to find these at techtalk.warp.world. We've got 2 more on our services, both Turnip Exchange and then Crowd Control, for the finale before we start introducing some tech talks with some members of our team and going into kind of what they do day to day at Warp World and their skill set. And then, as we add features and things to our services and bring out new things, we will be revisiting some of these old topics. And, there's always the possibility that we don't even talk about a Warp World service. We could talk about a technology that we use, something that's near and dear to our hearts. We talked a lot about Node.js today. And so, Ross could definitely be able to, if it's something that they're interested in doing, they could give you a course in that sort of thing. Just some technology thoughts behind that and why it's something that they like using. If you have any questions or comments about Tech Talk, you can email us at techtalk@warp.world. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed.